Hello, everybody. This is a Lamley Showcase. Tomica Limited Vintage. I've done a couple of live feeds. I've done plenty of shorts. But you guys have requested that I do more Tomica Limited Vintage videos with the turntable and everything else. And you know what? I completely agree with you. All of this stuff came from our friends at Japan Booster. There's a link down in the description where you can get these. Two sites, their eBay store, which is all the current stuff, the stuff that you're seeing here in this video, and then japanbooster.com, where you can pre-order some of the stuff that's coming out. And I'm going to tell you, 2024 is going to be a fantastic year for Tomica Limited Vintage. You can go and see some of the stuff that's coming. Pre-order it so you can just get it. Japan Booster will just ship it once it arrives to you. You also get deals on shipping the more you buy, so I would find a friend, combine on the things you want, do a big order, and they'll give you a good deal on shipping. Sometimes it's even free depending on how much you pay for it, but all of it coming out of Japan, and that's worldwide. So what I've done, I have the packages, I have the cars. We're going to go through the turntable. It's not too themed. It's just everything that's been released in the last few months, and I can't even remember which is which, but we're going to start with the Nissan GTR. That's the GTR Nismo Special Edition 2022 model. I'm going to put these on the turntable. We'll talk. I don't know if we'll talk specifically about these models. I'll show you some of the details on them. And we're just going to go a good, just kind of long form video so we can show them. Now, as I'm showing you these cars, and we'll just kind of go as we go. I mean, the details on this, I don't know how we're going to, this video is just going to be nuts. Anyway, I feel like, well, let's just start. Tomica Limited Vintage, if you're not familiar, we'll just keep, I mean, like, I'm doing a terrible job already. So there's and this is how it's going to go. I promise you, this is how it's going to go. Usually they release everything in twos. It's not always the case with some of their more high-end stuff like Ferrari and stuff. But they'll usually release things in two colors. So here's Special Edition 2022 in red as well. You can see the Nismo trim. Tomica Limited Vintage, I would say as far as premium goes, they're the best brand. There's a lot. I mean, a few years ago, there was no question they were the best brand in terms of details and quality. The fact that these roll very well, that's always a big part of these. It is the highest end line that Tomica does. They're ultra realistic. So that's the red GTR. We'll get rid of that. We're just going to continue to go. And this will be a reintroduction for some of you. Let's get to some of these. Honestly, like, this video is going to be weird because I'm just literally going to show you some of these cars. In fact, I think these were released. These were released like November, December, because Tomica Limited Vintage changed their packaging. Not too long ago, or like for January, they changed their packaging. So this is the older packaging, and like I said, I just opened these up, put them on the turntable, and now we'll show them. So anyway, Tomica Limited Vintage 1/64 scale. I said they're pretty much the highest quality models. We're gonna go kind of left to right here. This is the Corolla 11 two-door JT Apex. Red panda look, which is really, really nice. So everything's super detailed. The rule had been, I don't know if it continues to be with Tomica Limited Vintage, that they would not replicate a car unless they got one in studio that they could study, so they could make sure that the lines are completely correct. And it's just incredible. I've heard some issues in some markets just because of the humidity in those markets. I live in a very dry climate in Utah. But of some bubbling in the paint. That's unfortunate. I've never seen that. Or some sort of paint treatment. But this next one is the Datsun Bluebird 1600 SSS. But it is limited vintage. There's also limited vintage Neo. They'll replicate cars you'll see on the road. Sometimes they'll do race cars. You might see some of those here in a minute. And they try and replicate them perfectly. So it's like, if whatever year this one is, if there was a change in the headlights and they do a replica of that one for the next year, then they will change the headlights. Everything is, Hot Wheels will do a Skyline, and if it's, if there's some slight changes, they won't change it on their car. They won't do a new casting typically. But you can see how detailed these are. Like tail lights, separate piece, everything else. That's the Datsun. Now let's move up to the other color of the Datsun. It was released again. This was sometime in November, December, I think. You know, that last one did have white wall tires, but I think these wheels, are they different? They might, maybe not. Yeah, they are. Different wheels, I think. I mean, this is the kind of detail we're talking about. It's almost religious how they will change things up. So the cars are more expensive. They do, let me push the camera down just slightly, because these cars have shocks and they roll beautifully. Just having to bounce off the studio walls there. We'll go back up here. So it's just, I mean, there's not much, you know, we'll get to some of these cars. Some people don't like the fact that they don't have mirrors, and sometimes Tomica Limited Vintage will actually make you put the mirrors on, like glue them on, and I understand why people don't like that. Let's look at the other Corolla 11. Where is that? Black and gray. But ultimately, and so, like this one does have mirrors, right? This model, but others don't. Details in the interior and everything else. But yeah, this is the highest quality there is. There are some brands that are getting closer. I wouldn't say like your Tarmac Mini GT. They're a step below. That's not a criticism. It's just the level of detail and you know, there's a certain playability to those cars that maybe Tomica Limited, well, Tomica Limited does have it, but I don't know. It's just, you know, the approaches are different. There's no reason to say, where's that taxi that I'm looking at? There's no reason to say that one is better than the other. I can't find the taxi. There it is. Toyota Crown Comfort. This is awesome. You know, you can be a fan. I sometimes, I just ranting here a little bit. Sometimes I'll show a Hot Wheels and say, oh man, people say that's just junk. You should collect Mini GT. I don't do the either or thing. I do have brands that I prefer, and I'm a huge fan of Mini GT. I'm a huge fan of this brand, but I don't like to put them against each other. I know that they'll probably compete. The brands want to do better than each other. I think that's good, of course, but I can enjoy this taxi and then also enjoy like a Lamborghini Countach from Mini GT, right, or Skyline. So the other approach that Tomica Limited Vintage has, that's the taxi, and then the last one is the RX-7. They're actually released 2 RX-7s. I'm going to show you. Where's the other one? I have it on the turntable. I'll put it on the turntable. So the first one was actually, they've done several, but they released these in 2s, and they put this in a diorama set. Well, actually, you know what? I'll show that in just a second. Let's look at this other RX-7. The name of this one, Ifini RX-7. Did I say Ifini right? I know that that's the brand before Mazda. RX-7, or that in Japan, RX-7 Type RS. There it is. Really, really nice. They've done several of this car. You know, and there's some slight differences in the spoiler and everything. Some are Mazda, some are Ifini. Ifini? You guys can tell me how to pronounce that. But that one is really, really cool. And they did this police version. Here, I'll get these out of the way so you can see it. And they put in these diorama sets they've been doing. And sometimes I open them, sometimes I don't. I did open this one. I'm not going to open it for the video because it's just going to take too long. But I did put it on the turntable so you can kind of see it. They've got the little figures and little ducks and things like that. It's kind of cool. So you can kind of see this one. This one's really cool. This is the second RX-7 police car that they've done. And it's really, really nice. I really like the police cars. So that's the other thing I'll tell you about the approach to this brand that Tomica Limited Vintage takes, is that they do cars that you'll see on the road for the most part. I'm going to finish off these with the January releases just in the standard box, and then we're going to get to the Ferraris and some of the other things that are pretty wicked cool. So you can see they changed the packaging for 2024. Added a little more color. Art seems relatively the same. They changed the logo just slightly. I can show you the old box. Just so you can see. This is probably a little more bland. I think I prefer the old version better. It's more nerdy, no frills. You know, that's kind of the vibe with Tomica Limited Vintage. But I think that I think that they might be saying, hey, you know, in order to compete with some of these brands, we probably need to continue to do these kind of cars, which I should probably be showing you. Let's start with the Nissan Cedric wagon. Is that a taxi? Well, yes, taxi. With the Nissan Cedric, but like they'll still do these street cars that are super, super detailed and beautiful. But I think, you know, as we'll see in a little bit, they're doing more like, you know, the Skyline 400R, which is fantastic. I love that they're tackling that. But they're not hype cars per se, but what is this car? Is this some sort of emergency vehicle? Does this thing open? Hold on. Oh, it does. Look. Look, look, look. Oh, look at that. So this is like a safety vehicle, right? And I guess the light will go up on top like that. So they park this on the side of the road and it would, you know, to change lanes. Oh, that's so cool. I didn't even notice that when I put it on the turntable. Wow, that is so cool. See, that's the kind of stuff I just love. That's the kind of stuff that I kind of nerd out on. And I mean, I would assume that you guys would too. Some people want to, you know, they like certain kind of cars. They don't, may not have a total appreciation for a Toyopet Master Line. This looks like an ambulance, but I mean, you have to surely appreciate them. Japan Booster sends me these so I can show them to you, and I want to continue to do that. And so I, you know, some of these I probably wouldn't buy, but a lot of them you do. And I highly recommend to collectors that they really should, you know, while you might buy the 400Rs or the Ferraris and stuff, and I definitely highly suggest it, but you should buy one or two of these kind of cars too. In Japan, they love these. They love how beautifully they're done. They'll, you know, it's a great replica of the cars they've seen. Here's a street car, street version. But they'll, but yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I guess you're on the road, you might see a 400. Well, I don't know if you'd see a 400R, but see, I'm really hyping those. But you'll see this car, and then you'll see like a CRX or something like that. So it really just depends. But it really is nice the way they do that. So there's those. All right, I think that is all of like their standard cars that they released in the last few months. But then we get into some special packaging. Let me move some stuff around here. Let's go to the Honda CRX Pro. And these are super, super cool. So this is actually one of the nominees for the Model of the Year last year in the tournament. There's the box. All in white. So for some of these cars, they'll do this special larger box. Here is the car. Now, see, this one I would think that a lot of collectors would really like this. They've done the CRX before, but they haven't done it in this kind of detail. Look at the detail on the wheel. It's just amazing. Now, you know, this one is a little bit more of that crossover type. It's not gonna be a Toyopet or a Cedric or something, but it's gonna move in that direction that collectors could get super excited about. And this one is definitely one of those. Released two, so they released this one in white, and then they released one in silver or gray or whatever you want to call it. And there it is, right there. Different wheels. Trying to see if there's any difference. I don't know. Looks to be essentially the same outside of the wheels. But they'll tool them up, right? They'll tool them up if they need to make them different. So that's a really cool model. Done the Hondas. Let's see, where are we going to go now? We should go Ferraris. Actually, you know what? Let's do, let's do the Ferraris. There's three. Three released. Now they do these Ferraris. They do in a very different box. Look how nice this box is. Just a little bit more. And I know some of you are so familiar with this, but I do feel like this is I kind of need to do a reintroduction, right? So let's start with the 365 GTSR. This is the convertible. And I think before we start, I think this has an opening hood. Yeah, it does. And then we'll put on the turntable with the closed hood. So here it is with the opening hood. Move these back just a little bit. There's the engine. Check out some of the detail there in the interior as well. Really is something. And then close it up and you can see it on the turntable. So they've been doing Ferraris for a while. They started with the F40. If you really want something cool, go buy their factory F40s. Red, black, and yellow, I think, of what they've done. I don't think they've done any other colors. But they release these in one color at a time. I believe this one's also been released in red. I think most of them you see in red to start. Wheels, totally perfect. Just a fantastic model. That's the convertible. There's also, that would be this one. That would be the hardtop of the 365 GTB4. There it is right there. And I'll open the hood as well. Pretty much the same, right? I think so. Wheels different, right? Yeah. The other one was those Ferrari Star wheels. This is a lace wheel. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Put on the turntable. Exhaust, fantastic. Lines, perfect. I mean, it just looks like a collector car, right? It looks like something you would see in Monterey or something like that. Just really, really pretty. My Tomica Limited Vintage collector side is very different than my like Hot Wheels or other. I treat these a little differently. I just become a different kind of collector. This is the 512, right? BBS 512, is that what it is? BB 512? BB 512. Let me find the opening portion of this one. This one's come in a lot of colors. This one might be hard to... I'm going to show it upside down so you can see it because this is a mid-engine car. And then you can see it on the turntable. What year was this one? Flat nose. Was this like late 70s? Early 80s? So one thing I was going to tell you is that with the Tomica Limited Vintage is I am going, I've said this enough, I know, but I'm going through a pretty thorough reorganization of my collection. And one of the things I need to do is my Tomica Limited Vintage is all in boxes right now. I have nothing displayed. Let's go to those are the Ferraris. Let's go to the Lamborghini, because you got to see this, the Miura. There's the box. Same kind of box, but different art. I didn't really show you all the art, but there's this one. Obviously, new logo. But one of the things that I want to do, and it might take me a while. It might take me months, to be honest. Here's the car. I'll show you before I put on the turntable. Has two opening parts. Has the opening front. Would you call that a hood? Because there's no engine there. But it has the spare tire, all detailed, which is awesome. And I believe that, that might be plastic. Sometimes it's a rubber tire. And then there's the engine in the back. Isn't that cool? All right, close it up. Put it on the turntable. So I want to organize the collection to where I have all of my Lamborghinis together in a, even if they're in boxes right now, because I just don't have the space to display everything. But I'm keeping all my Tomica Limited Vintage because I would love to say, all right, I want to do a video on all the Ferraris, or I want to do a video on all the police cars, the Japanese police cars. Even the Cedrics or whatever else. That's the Lamborghini. Let's go to the 400R, and I think we can pretty much call it a day. So I want to do that, but I'm just not able to. I like to do a video like that. I would really have to. I don't know. It's just hard, and so that's my goal, is to be able to do this so I can. There's really not a lot of rhyme or reason. I'm just showing released cars right now, and I would like to. Sometimes when I do a Hot Wheels video, I can pull out. I do a new car culture, and I can say, all right, well, this casting has been released in this color, and this color, and this color. And I can show it. It's very difficult for me to do that with Tomica Limited Vintage, and I think it deserves that, to try and tie all that in. So does like Mini GT and Tarmac as well. All right, this is the 400R. This is by far the most hyped casting that Tomica Limited Vintage has done in a while. They have never done, like, their R34 is a 4-door sedan that they've done. They have not done the GTR. They've done some definite hot cars, like some, you know, Skyline race cars and things like that. But the 400R is kind of next level. And they really went to town on this one. So 2 different packaging, because I believe this is the owner of this car that they replicated with the cool license plate. We can start there. I'll show it to you right now and put it on the turntable. I'll show you the license just to start. But I want to, before I put it on the turntable, I want to kind of draw some attention to these headlights. Notice the way the headlight's been detailed on a 164 scale car. It's pretty incredible. Now I can put it on the turntable. Wheels totally era appropriate or period correct. Tons of detail in the wheels. Nismo logo on the wheels. 400R detailing, obviously spoilers correct. Kind of has a CSL look, that spoiler, but it's just not as big. 400R is probably one of the most collectible cars, one of the rarest cars at this point, right? Especially this, you know, this with it released within the last, what, 30 years this car has been released. White rims, everything about this is fantastic. I'll even, you know, like I said, these, I'll move the camera down so you can see it. Shocks and rolls beautifully. That's the silver version. And then in more of that standard packaging that they've done, here is the yellow version. Move this back because there it is. Same thing. I'll show you the front. Doesn't have the license plate because I don't think it's a replica of, you know, of someone's actual car. It's just the replica of the yellow release. I'll even show you before I put in there. There's the wheel, so you can kind of see. You can see the brake calipers in there. Everything's super detailed. It is just plain special, no doubt about it. So I've talked a lot, kind of a reintroduction of Tomica Limited Vintage. I will go through the releases as they come. But again, like I said, I want to do more themed videos, and the time will come when I'm able to do that. And I cannot wait because I think you're going to really enjoy these. And I think it's going to kind of make you want some. So be careful. You know, we know this hobby can be a bit of a disease at times. The last element is that everything is in perfect 1/64 scale. So this sitting next to this, it would be like the real cars sitting next to each other. And with that, the reason I bring that up now is because there's one last bit I'll show you. Take these out of the way. Let's see if I can find it. Where is the packaging? Oh yeah. And we can also go with the big stuff. Like a bus. This is another one I really want to showcase, are the buses, because they are quite incredible. In fact, I need room here, so I'm gonna just put this like this. 1/64 scale bus. I'll show you the front, show you the seats, even the diagrams. Everything beautifully replicated. Look at the front. I don't have this on. I didn't put this on the turntable. Back. Even on the bottom, you can see there's details that maybe don't even need to be there, but they're there. That's the bus. What is that? The Isuzu Erga. And also to scale, the Isuzu Elf panel van. There's the art. There's the truck. Same thing. I'll show you this bottom to start. I did put this on the turntable. Rubber tire for the spare tire. Little details on the bottom that, you know, maybe aren't seen all the time, but replicated that way. It's just insane how cool these are. This one doesn't have moving parts. Some of their trucks do. Really depends. These mid-sized trucks sometimes do, sometimes don't. Their bigger trucks usually do. If it's like a container truck or something, or a hauler. But there you go. Kind of a nerd out vid. Not doing, just kind of quiet. I don't know if you call this quiet, but just in my little studio where I normally do the turntable shots, and I just wanted to give these cars their due, because I agree with you. These need to be seen more often. You guys tell me what you think. Some of you collect, some of you don't. Do some of you want to start? I think you could start with cars like the Lamborghini or the 400R. They're not cheap, but they're worth it. Totally, totally worth it. You just need to know. I would go to Japan Booster to get it, get some friends together, do a big order, get some free shipping. I think you'll enjoy it. You guys tell me what you think. Thanks, everybody. This is a long one. Bye.